This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I try to survive being under the weather and a little sick to then focus on the NFL draft. We're going to break down every first round pick, or at least the ones we thought were interesting or maybe head scratching. And then we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. We're going to talk about the teams, what's happening right now, what we predict will happen, and is this the end of the era of the Kevin Durant and LeBron James winning a lot of things? Or is this the beginning of something new? All that and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben. That's Josh. And we both are under the weather. I mean, it's going to sound like we're a true amazing radio broadcasters that have very deep voices that will soothe you as you listen to our show. No, anyways. I just say that at the beginning of the show, one as a joke, but two, that the fact that if you notice that Josh and I might look like we're dying, we are. But no. Josh, how has your week been? I know it's been kind of, I'm sure, crazy for you. And as you said last night, you kind of knew were under the weather going into the today.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of working lately just between switching crews and picking up a couple extra shifts of overtime. And then last night, it's that feeling that starts
Yeah,
developing in
it
your
hits
throat
you.
where you're like, this is going to be bad when I wake up in the morning. And here we are. So, yeah,
We
voice definitely a little deeper, face definitely looking a little more sadder, energy way lower than usual. But we got an NFL draft to talk about. So
we
I'm not
do.
going to skip out on that. I'm here for it.
No. I mean, I will say,
That was probably the highlight of last week was watching the first round with some buddies over at my house.
like it was kind of fun to like wake up to the draft. Like that's the fun part about living in Europe, is like you can wait. It's not like like when you're in America, like you always get notifications or stuff that what's happening, but like I get to go to bed and then wake up and be like a surprise. It's like a full gift. It's like 32 picks. What happened? It's like going through it all and seeing everything. But yeah, I'm with you. I started feeling it yesterday as I was teaching. And then today we have today's Labor Day, by the way. So happy Labor Day to all Hungarians if you're listening.
Hmm.
We didn't have school today. So fun fact about Hungary. But anyways, Josh, let's get into this draft. Now, we won't go through obviously every pick, but there's a lot of things that we noticed through the draft. There's some obvious ones that I'm sure both of us will talk about. But there's also a lot of things that have happened, behind the scenes and things like that. Overall, do you agree with? I think there was an interview with Bill Belichick and Roger Goodell. What an enticing interview that was. Those two together. I don't know if you saw that on Pat McAfee's show or not, but
Didn't know.
uh, basically they were just answering questions from fans, and someone said like, "How do you feel the draft experience is happening now?" And I'm like, I feel like, and I wanted to start with this because I feel like I'm on two sides of it. Like it's really cool to see like the city that it's in get really hyped and excited for the draft. But then part of me is also like, this is just a big money grab by the NFL. Like it really, like what I'm saying? Like I feel like it's like you're hyped, but you're also like, this is just NFL getting more money. Um, do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, what they used to do it in, like
They
Radio
used to do
City
it like,
Music
yeah,
Hall
just
every
like
year.
one place you would go there and it was like, okay, this makes sense. So like I don't know, like I feel like weird about it. It's like, I'm excited for all the home bases that get a chance to do it, but then it's also like, it's just the same old NFL and Roger Goodell being Roger Goodell.
Yeah, I don't know. It would have been cool, like if I could have actually gone to the one in Cleveland. They didn't have restrictions on attendance, but
That's exactly my point.
but outside of that, like going city to
It's
city,
kind of cool.
I think
Yeah.
is cool for the draft.
Yeah, I
Every
mean it's
fan
cool.
gets to kind of come and do it. It's like the All-Star game in
Yeah.
NBA and in the MLB where
If they had a real
every
Pro
city,
Bowl, it'd be cool. And like
yeah,
every city. But
yeah, but I think it's cool. It obviously does make the NFL more money to be able to do that, but I think it's a positive change that is a benefit to both the fans and the
yeah.
league, which doesn't usually happen.
That is true. So I agree with you on that. But Josh, let's go into your first reactions of the first round and give me your thoughts. Anything you want to talk about here?
Yeah, first four picks you and I both got right, so there wasn't any
Yes,
shock
correct.
there. But then the Chargers went with Joe Walt, and we were discussing whether, like in the Jim Harbaugh era, what kind of an identity might this Chargers team take on? Are they going to be like Michigan? And the evidence was that they were getting rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler, and
Add
there's
J.K.
the
Dobbins.
there's the chance that they were going to go maybe the offensive lineman route because Joe Walt is really a can't miss prospect, and so they they roll with him. You and I think both guessed Malik Neighbors, or at least I did. But Joe Alt goes there first, so that's the first thing that kind of set my mock draft off from being 100% accurate. And then Neighbors goes to the Giants, which okay, we thought, at least
One
I
of the
thought
two.
they'd,
Yeah.
yeah, wide receiver, offensive line, so still not a shock. And plus, if Neighbors is there at 6, probably go with him since Alt was the best available, not
Yeah.
anymore. Titans go offensive lineman as well. J.C. Latham, a little higher than what I expected, but still, the position was right. And all of us guys are talking about what Atlanta might do here. They could probably go the edge route or something to try to
Dallas
fix the
Turner made the most
defense.
sense. It made the most
Yeah,
sense right there.
it did.
Or
And
trade
then
down.
to our surprise and the whole world's, we see Michael Penix Jr.,
Oh my
eighth
goodness.
overall. And the first reaction of everybody was, didn't they just pay Kirk Cousins like a 3 or
Yeah,
4
like
year deal? And to remind
ridiculous.
everybody, yes, 4 years, $180 million is going to Kirk Cousins.
Guaranteed, by the way.
Michael Penix is also 24 years old. So this is the scenario that you're in right now. Over the next 4 years, you're either going to be paying your backup quarterback $45 million to ride the bench, or if you really believe in Michael Penix and he's a project and you want to say this is like the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love
Yeah.
approach, do you really want to wait until he's 29 and like just getting out of his prime years to be able to finally start for your team? Like, what a waste of a first round pick.
Like this doesn't seem like this helps either side. Like
It
this is
doesn't. It
not
doesn't
good
get
for
Kirk Cousins a
Penix.
weapon. It
It's
doesn't
not
get
good for
Penix time on
Penix.
the field.
It's
Yeah.
not good for Cousins. And look, at the end of the day, it's like what they said. Like Cousins found out while they're on the clock. Like at least the courtesy at least to like meet with him the day before and say, hey, here if this happens, here's the options. But I am I have friends that are from Georgia and they're Atlanta Falcons fans, and I haven't heard a peep out of them since the end of the draft. I haven't heard
Mm.
a word out of them. I'm just curious. How do you sell this now to Kirk Cousins? It almost feels like an Aaron Rodgers situation where instead of helping him, right, instead of giving him weapons, you decide, hey, instead of protecting him with an offensive lineman, or maybe, I don't know, get us the defense that can actually
Trying to
stop the
win
ball.
now.
It seems like you're trying to somewhat win now, but somewhat try to prepare for the future. And I understand that. I get that. But you got to do it smarter. And to me, that's what was confusing about the pick. If anything, just trade down to 11 and then it kind of makes more sense. It doesn't really, but still makes more sense. The fact like, okay, I traded down and we can still get a quarterback. But the fact that you chose a guy, not a guy that's like 21 or 20. No, you chose a guy that's 24. And I love Michael Penix. Like I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. I just hate the fact that now he's got to sit behind Cousins for who knows how long. And I know they're like, well, he tore his Achilles, but Josh, you and I know like, but then why'd you pay him 45 million? Like then that's my
Yep.
question.
If you're worried about
Like
Kirk's health, I mean that's a pretty high
it was
pick
like they
to
were
use on a
hasty.
backup quarterback.
Like they were hasty. Like they want to be secure either way, but it's like, okay, whatever. But that was fascinating.
Yeah, so that easily made the Atlanta Falcons the biggest loser in the draft for me.
Oh, not even close. Even after that pick, I didn't like. It doesn't matter whoever's picks next. Like I don't care who anybody else picks. This is the worst pick in the draft, and this makes them the worst whole grade for the draft for me.
If Michael Penix pans out and is all that,
Okay, then sure, yeah,
you wasted $180 million on Kirk Cousins, so you're still a loser.
agreed, 1,000%.
Yeah. I don't see that going any other direction, but yeah, Roma Dunze goes 9. That was something that I thought might happen there. But then Minnesota, who had the 11th pick, trades up to the 10th with the Jets, goes with JJ McCarthy. I think that was
Stupid,
the second thing
dumb,
that shocked me.
dumb, stupid. You're screwed. Goodbye, Minnesota Vikings. You will never win another Super Bowl ever. I don't even think you've won one. But
Whoa, what?
I'm sorry. I'm
You don't think
sorry.
JJ can cook with TJ Hawkinson, Justin
Listen,
Jefferson, and
listen
Jordan
to me.
Addison?
Listen. Josh, we've seen him cook when he has a great, fantastic running game. Have we seen him cook when he has no running game and he has to throw the ball? Have we?
We haven't yet.
And that's the proof that I need to see. When he
I'm gonna
does
pull
that,
out
listen,
I'm gonna pull
if
out a
he
Josh Pate line on you. Cannot
if
and have not are two different
I
things.
agree with you. I agree. This is part of my bias of being a Ohio State fan, but secondly, this is also me looking at it as a quarterback. Like, seriously, if I looked at all the other quarterbacks that were chosen, the top, even Penix, right? they've proved themselves to say, hey, when we can't run the ball, I can go win you a game. I don't know if we've seen McCarthy do that. And again, I think he is a pro prospect. I think he's probably what a lot of teams want. I just think you're reaching and paying him a lot of money at 10, where I think you could probably have got him because it seemed like the Broncos were set on Bo Nix. So maybe you could have got him a little lower and saved yourself some money. That's my perspective.
Yeah, the trading up for one pick. I mean, we've seen the Browns do that to get Trent Richardson. We've seen the Bears do that
I'm
to get
glad we
Mitch
use that as I
Trubisky.
love how we use that as our reference.
Well, it's
What a
it's
pick.
it's
See,
situations where
see,
it failed.
see, this
Yeah,
is going to happen. You see what's going to happen.
it's situations where it failed. But I'm just saying, like, was somebody going to trade with the Jets to go up
I
and
don't
get
think
JJ?
so.
And
I
Minnesota
really
was
don't.
forced to be like, we got to go up one pick
I mean,
because
I,
JJ, I feel like would have been there at 11. The Jets weren't going to do it,
I
right?
think they would have been. I think they would have been there. I think Bo Nix would have went before JJ if it came to the Broncos because I think Peyton just loves Bo Nix. So I think Bo Nix was going to go to the Broncos no matter what. I don't think even if JJ was there, I don't think they would have went and got JJ.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
if anything, trade down. If that's what I'm trying to say, I guess.
so the Jets end up at 11. They go with Alu Fashnu. I think that addresses a need at the offensive line. I thought maybe they'd go the Brack Bowers route
Didn't
at
Aaron
9
Rodgers
or
kind of
10.
say he was a little shocked? I think he got interviewed. I think he said he was a little shocked, but he understood it. I think that's what he said, something like that.
Yeah, they made moves in the offense, I thought, to adjust the offensive line, but they obviously want some depth and
Yeah,
uh
and he can play guard
whatnot
too,
there.
so that
Yeah,
helps.
Fashnu is very good, and it is going to indirectly help Rodgers, I guess, with protection. It may not be the weapon that he wanted, but uh yeah, 12 Bo Nix. That's probably the
Reach,
one that shocked
reach,
me the
yeah,
most.
reach.
I can buy Michael Penix at least having first round talent and
Yeah,
going in the first round. I can, I guess, buy JJ McCarthy being a first round pick because all the other analysts and mock
they
draft
love
people
him.
said he would be. I
Yeah,
just was like, I don't see it. But Bo Nix right here at 12, I
I
can't
think
believe it. That's probably the quarterback pick that
I
darn near shocks me almost as much as Penix to Atlanta.
I think they could have got him in the second round. I didn't see another team that would have wanted him. I mean, this is the thing. It put in perspective. Six quarterbacks went in the first 12 picks, and then there wasn't another quarterback chosen until the fifth round.
Yeah.
So it's not like you could have waited. Like again, I think Sean Payton's one of those guys that when he likes a guy, it doesn't matter. Like he's going to go get his guy, and whatever that costs the team is going to cost the team. My question with Bo Nix is like, is this the guy? I mean, you obviously have Zach Wilson as well. I, I guess with Bo Nix, the one thing I struggle with, and maybe you can agree with me on this, I don't know, is I don't see like I see one of those guys that's kind of like a JT Barrett, right? A very good college quarterback. Probably could win with any team on any college level on a college level. But do we think he's going to translate game wise to the NFL? Does that make sense what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I
I
just feel
really
like
don't think so.
I feel like he's maybe I'm trying to think of a kind of a comparison, but maybe like one of those guys that he I hate to say Johnny Manziel because Johnny Manziel was such a bust, but the idea of like he goes in, he starts, and then they're like, oh wait a minute, he's probably not ready yet, and then they try to wait, and then it kind of a Geno Smith type thing where he comes in and then he just struggles, and then maybe later in the career you see a resurgence. I don't know. To me, it just didn't make sense for Sean Payton, who's trying to win over the fan base. Let's be honest. Like you screwed him over with Russell Wilson failures. You're in so much debt wise, money wise. And it's just to me, I don't understand the move. If anything, like I would have seen them maybe trade up in the top 10 and maybe get Michael Penix. Or maybe that's what they were hoping, right? Maybe Bo Nix was
Yeah.
not the choice and they were hoping Michael Penix was sitting there at that spot, which again at 12, I think we thought that would possibly be a chance. But it really was confusing for me.
Yeah, and maybe Bo will turn out to be great, but it just
Yeah,
seemed
yeah, of
like at
course.
Oregon he was in like a Brock Purdy situation where he just would throw like the quick slants and the screens to Bucky
78%
Irving
completion
and Tez
percentage.
Johnson, and I mean that's how you get a 78%
Yeah.
completion percentage, right? Troy Franklin, like all these guys would
Which he's going
just
to play with Troy
do all the
Franklin
work.
and who got drafted
He
as
will
well
get
by the
to do that.
Broncos.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean we talked Denver had a lot of different routes they could go, and I just think that this was a major reach here and they could have gotten a much
Just
better
trade
pick here at
down.
12.
Just trade down, get some more
If
picks.
you right, go with that. And then Raiders here with Brock Bowers.
They got to steal, man.
I
They
personally
got to
love it.
steal, dude.
I
It's
l-
awesome.
I
What'd
was
you
a
say?
little
Can you
shocked that
repeat
they
what you
did
said
it.
on Instagram? I forget what you said. You said
I
like this.
said that I think Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers can be what I thought Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez could have been in New England.
Yeah. If you don't know
It's
who Aaron
just
Hernandez is, go watch the documentary. We will get into that.
the only
Uh,
pushback I got on that from people was who's going to be throwing it to him. Everybody else was like, I could
and
totally see
this
it.
is but see, this is the team where maybe this is what I think, Josh, honestly, is I'm thinking the Raiders were thinking quarterback here, but then when there was no really good quarterbacks left, they went, hey, Brock is in here. Why not get a guy who can be a threat? And like, hey, then we'll fill out maybe next year. You see them get a quarterback in the first round, or they do some type of trade and they get someone as well. Maybe they go and trade for Kirk Cousins. I don't know. He's
Excuse me,
dying.
that was pretty good. Um, yeah, whoever's going to be throwing the ball, whether it's Gardner Minshew or Aiden
I mean,
O'Connell when they
Gardner
make a
Minshew, let's
trade.
be honest, Minshew's proven himself. Like, it's not like it's going to
Yeah,
be incapable.
like you got Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer, now Brock Bowers to
That's
work
deadly,
with.
dude. And let's be honest, I think, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but don't you feel like Bowers is going to end up being more of a receiver in the NFL than he will be a tight end? Do you feel like
Yes,
he's going to end up being more of a receiver? That's what I thought too. I don't think he'll end up being much of a tight
he
end.
can block, but
He's
I don't
he's
know
not going to
why
be able to
you'd want him
block
to.
350-pound dudes that are playing three tech.
There's not a ton more picks I want to talk mid first
No.
round.
Well, the first
Dallas
defensive play, it
Turner,
was the latest. The first defender one is this is the latest ever, which was I think pick
Latu at
15 or what it
15.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, Latu at 15. I love Dallas Turner to Minnesota. It's a
Or
steal
the
at 17.
How the Eagles got freaking two steals in 2 rounds.
Basically, two first round corner
Dude, I hate
talents.
it,
Yeah,
dude.
Quinion
I
Mitchell
hate
and
it
then
so
Cooper
much, dude.
DeJean. Yeah,
I was hoping the Browns would have got Cooper DeJean. I was hoping he'd fall to him. I was just like scoop him.
these receivers that went late too. To me, if you're Buffalo, like, and
What are you doing, dude? What are
they
you
started the
doing?
second round off getting Keon Coleman, so maybe that was their guy all along.
I
But the fact that
guess
you let
not.
Kansas City, your AFC rival, trade up to go get the guy that they wanted, that could probably be used to beat you in the playoffs. I don't like that. Like, I
That
wouldn't
move
have
was weird.
ever traded with Kansas City.
Well, and it's that, and also like I get Keon Coleman, but man, like, don't you want a burner? Like, don't you want a guy that's just going to stretch the field and give? But again, I
They
don't think
don't
they'll
have
do it.
I don't think they have Gabe Davis and they obviously traded Diggs. So I think Keon Coleman is more of a receiver that Buffalo needed
Yeah,
than Xavier Worthy. It's not the fact that they passed on Worthy, it's the fact that they let Kansas City come up and get this guy, and we know what they do with like these smaller, quicker receivers.
yeah. I guess the other one that kind of shocked me too was seeing Terry and Arnold go to Detroit, which I think is a great fit. I think that's also a really steal of the first round. Or the fact that the Cowboys traded back and they got their guy who they wanted, I think, up higher, but they traded back. Um,
Yeah.
Ricky Pearsall going to 49ers was probably one of the stupidest picks of the first round, at least in
Don't
my opinion.
disrespect the Florida Gators like
Listen,
that, Ben.
listen. I'm not disrespecting the Florida Gators. And again, Pearsall, I think he's a phenomenal receiver. I just think it's really weird that the 49ers got him when you still already have guys under contract, unless you're planning to trade them. I just don't get why you would use a first round pick on that, if that makes sense. Again, I'm not saying it's not the guy,
Yeah,
it's just the
I'm with
weird
you
pick there.
on that. You got Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and you used the first round pick to go and
Why
get
not get a
another
lineman? Get a
receiver. Yeah.
lineman or somebody. A
So that
corner. You
tells
need a
me
corner.
that there's a
One of
great
them's
chance
going.
that Debo or Ayuk are getting traded. They're not gonna pay them both, and we know Debo's like requested trades in the past, and someone's going to be gone. So that's why I think they went with the move there. But even still, like Pearsall in the first round when Coleman was there and A.D. Mitchell, who also fell. Another steal for the Colts, honestly.
Yeah. Well, even like the Bengals getting to Marius Mims, like by the way, their two starting tackles are going to be like over 340 pounds, by the way. Like they're just going to be massive trunks, tree trunks. But yeah, man, I like the only thing that shocked me, I guess, was if I go to the second round, right? Like some of the guys that were able to fall. I mean, look at the Browns. I think you agree with me. They got two, I think, decent picks in the second and third. I know a lot of people were against Zach Zinter, but look, I think
Yeah,
he's going to be a good pick for a guy with Batonio aging. And some of these guys aging on the line, you get a guy who's going to be very good in a year. And also the fact that you were able to get Michael Hall Jr., who can rush the passer. Well, when was the last time the Browns had a defensive tackle that can rush the passer? Like, I don't remember the last time, to be honest with you.
I think yeah, they got some first round talents in the second, third round, which I'm all about, regardless of like the red
Yeah.
flags, because if it pans out, then heck of a pick there. But yeah, I think why those guys fell. I mean, Michael Hall Jr., and you can attest to this at Ohio
Yeah.
State, could rush the passer, but he was never consistent, which is why he
And
was
he'd
never like
play.
a
He didn't
regular
always play a
starter.
lot because he was always
Yeah.
rotating, and he was
Yeah.
always hurt.
Yeah. So if it pans out, he can become more consistent. Love the pick. Fills in need a defensive tackle. That was something I wanted him to address. And then Zach Zinner was probably going to be a first round pick as
If he
well
didn't
before
break
the
his
injury.
leg.
Yeah,
Which, by the
before
way,
the
you know who
injury,
broke his leg, right?
it was
Michael
it
Hall
in the
Jr. got pushed on his leg. So that's the
okay,
whole story.
I
That's
knew it was
the
later in the season. So yeah, to go out and get Zinner in round three, I mean we know as Browns fans, offensive line
yeah,
needed some depth with all the injuries
badly.
that it dealt with, and hopefully that injury to Zinner was just a
And
one
he could
off
play, and he could
and
play
he's good to
both
go.
sides of the guard, so that's important. But also the fact that I'm really mad is the Steelers got Peyton Wilson in the third round, like or like that to me is just annoying because I think he's a first round talent that they were able to swipe in the third round. It just drives me nuts.
Mm.
But there wasn't any other craziness, I guess, for me. Obviously, Cade Stover going back to Farmer Gronk going down to Texas is just phenomenal with CJ Stroud. I think that's a great fit. Um, and I think CJ had a little input on that. I have a funny feeling. I feel like they don't just pick him out of anywhere,
Mm.
but yeah, man. Well, let's. How do you want to do this? You want to kind of go into anything that any pick or anything that kind of shocked you, or something you want to talk about more pick wise, how it fits and stuff?
Uh, I was just gonna recap a couple teams that I
Yeah,
thought did really well in the draft. There's a handful that I really like what they did. Starting with Washington,
yeah.
I
Washington
like
did pretty good. Yeah,
I like Jaden Daniels, Johnny Newton, Mike Sanders still. They went out and got Luke McCaffrey. I thought that they did really well with the picks that they
yeah.
had.
I agree. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Let me check who else I really liked. There's a
Eagles
handful.
had a nice one too. They had a
That's
pretty
the
nice
that's the
draft.
next one. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
like what the Eagles did. Like I said, they got basically two first round corners to address the secondary. You add Will Shipley, who can maybe be a weapon out of the
How
backfield
did
for
Cooper
you.
DeJean fall to that set? Like it's just mind
Yeah,
boggling.
some people thought he might be the first corner taken. And then they get Johnny Wilson late,
I
receiver from
know.
Florida State.
Who's a big
Jeremiah
dude.
Trotter Jr., whose dad was a linebacker for
Yep.
Philly and dominated for years. Big fan of what Philly was able to do in the draft. Um, Let me check another team that I really liked. Um, yeah, I think we already talked about the Brock Bowers pick and how we like that. But then they also were able to address the offensive line with Jackson Powers Johnson in the second round and got some guys for the
Tommy
secondary
Eichenberg.
in the later rounds and Eichenberg, yeah, which I know you'll like that pick.
I love that pick. Phenomenal pick.
I don't know if any of those guys in the secondary will pan out for him, but we'll see what happens.
What did you think about the Browns Jamari Thrash? I wasn't super thrilled to be honest with you.
I don't
Not
know who that is, but the
the
Browns have taken a
Browns.
lot of guys late that I
Yeah.
don't know who
So
they are that have
he's
worked.
6 foot, 188. He's crafty, but like I watched his film and I'm just like, it could have been some other guys we could have grabbed. But
Hmm.
again, that one drove me nuts. But
Which round was that?
we got him in the fifth round. Yeah, fifth round.
Okay. We would have missed out on a couple other guys that I liked. Like I like Troy Franklin, he would have already been gone, and Devontae Walker from North Carolina would have already been gone.
Or also, did you realize that guys from the Canadian League could be drafted in the NFL draft? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
There was a guy, Quantez Stiggers, was drafted from the Toronto Argonauts,
Huh.
which is very fascinating to me. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is a new thing I learned. And also I learned that Jordan Travis is going to be playing for behind Aaron Rodgers, which is a very fascinating pick.
Yeah. Love what the Rams did too. They addressed the defensive line
They did.
concerns with Aaron Donald being gone with
They
Jared
got
Verse
Burris,
and
yeah.
Braden Fisk.
Yeah.
Add Blake Corum, who could be a solid backup running back to Kyron Williams. Got Jordan Whittington late, receiver from Texas. And then yeah, let's talk about the Chargers draft. We already mentioned Joe Alt seems like a Jim Harbaugh pick, but
Did you hear
then
what he said? Did you hear what he said by him though? He goes, "What do you mean we didn't get any weapons? We think offensive line's a weapon." I'm like, "Okay, okay, Jim.
it
Okay,
can
Jim.
be if nobody can get through it.
I yeah, but still, Jim. Okay,
Lad McConkey's the most Jim Harbaugh
dude.
receiver though, for
That
sure.
is the most. When I saw them pick him, I'm like, that's just Jim Harbaugh. Like
If
that's
Bill
him sitting there
Belichick was
going,
still coaching, he's definitely a New England Patriot.
"Oh my
But
gosh, he's such
yeah,
a."
that's who they take next. And then they get a couple of his boys, Junior Colson from Michigan, and the third round, solid linebacker
Did
pick
you
there.
did you see how he called? By the way, everyone, he's like, "Who's got better than us?" And no one said it right except the Michigan guy. And I was like,
Uh,
Jim, you have to realize, Jim, no one's
Nobody
gonna
knows
say
that.
it
Yeah,
exactly the same way as you.
they added Cornelius Johnson too, another one of his guys with their
They
last
added
pick.
the guy from Troy, which I thought was a really good pick, the Kamani Vidal. He's like
Hmm.
been secretly having like a really good career. He had the second most yards in FBS in 2023. Rushing yards. He had 1,600 yards rushing this past year. So they got him in the sixth round. So I think that's a really sneaky pick. He's almost like an Eckler. He's the same size as Eckler. So I think it's almost like replacing Eckler with a similar build, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. So I really like that pick by them. And actually, not too far after that, the Dolphins got who I think is the steal wide receiver of the draft, which is Malik Washington, because he was on my fantasy team, but also because the dude's had
Uh,
like 1,000 yards the last 3 seasons for Virginia. I mean, it's Virginia, so it's not like we're talking
yeah.
about a red offense, but
And I know they had the picks to do it, but I mean, Chicago went out and got Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze.
yeah,
They didn't do anything stupid.
that is true.
So I got to give them a little credit for that. But that's
What
pretty
a-
much all the teams I really
what about
liked.
the was it a punter going in the fourth round? Yes, the Iowa punter.
Okay.
Iowa punter. When
I
the
want to talk
fourth
about a weapon.
Talk about a weapon right there. He went to the Bears, which Caleb Williams texted him. The first text he texted him was, "Sorry, we're not going to need you that much." I'm like, "Okay, Caleb. Yeah, okay,
That'd be cool.
be cool." And I believe
Future's
there
bright in
was.
Chicago.
Hold on, I think there was. Oh, hold on, there was like, I think two kickers picked or three kickers picked in the sixth round. Hold on, let me look. There was one, two, three place kickers picked in the sixth round.
Huh.
Shocking to me. Why would you waste a pick on a kicker? And yet the Browns did that, and he's back on the roster somehow. There was also a guy in the seventh round. If you want to know a fun fact about the draft, he was drafted from England.
Huh.
The Bills picked Travis Clayton, who's a former rugby player. He's going to be a guard. He ran a 4.79 40-yard dash. And Brendan Rice was picked to the Chargers. That's the other one that I thought was fascinating by the Chargers, getting Brendan Rice,
Yeah, Jerry's son.
which is a fascinating one. You know who? Do you want to guess who Mr. Irrelevant was?
Tell me.
Jalen Key from Alabama
Okay.
to the Jets. But yeah. Anything else that pops out at you at the draft, or is that pretty much everything there?
That's pretty much it. Yeah. There wasn't really, I mean, Michael Penix was the biggest shock of the first round. I think that's pretty much a
Yeah,
summary. There wasn't really anything else really too crazy. I mean, the six quarterbacks in the first 12 picks, I think was a record.
yeah. The
Um,
first defensive player to go
I
till
think three
15.
receivers in the first nine was also a record.
What we didn't really talk about Marv. How do you feel Marv's going to fit in Arizona?
I think Marv would have fit anywhere, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kyler, I'm sure will have fun throwing him the football.
Oh,
I don't know how many other guys Arizona's got
they
that
have a
could
tight
maybe
end. They have
distract.
McBride. They have a tight end in McBride who's really good across the middle. So I think that might help maybe loosen up the middle of the field too.
Yeah, I mean Kyler in college did well with big time receivers
Yeah. So do you
like that.
think how would you rank the Browns draft? Would you say that they did what they had to, or do you feel like they could have maybe gotten a little bit better quality at some areas?
I think they did about as good as they could without a first round pick.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah, yeah.
seen some of the sites saying that we're one of the top five losers, and I don't really know
Well, I
why
mean, like,
that
what are you
is or
supposed to
what it's
do? Like,
based on.
you get the
Yeah,
best guy available on your board. Like, I think they got the
yeah.
best guy unavailable. They wanted a defense tackle. They got the best one available. They wanted a guard or a tackle. They got the best one available at that time.
And the big thing is that these are like first round talents.
Yes.
I'm all
Like,
about getting first round talents late.
let's be honest. Like you said, Zach Zinter, if he doesn't break his leg, he's at least late first round, maybe early
Yeah.
second round at the latest.
Like the Eagles, like you just drafted Quinyon Mitchell, but that didn't stop them from going and taking Cooper DeJean in the second round. It's like we
Yeah.
got another first round talent here. Let's go and get him.
Yeah. So I agree with you. It'll be fascinating to see what happens. Again, we'll talk about more of these draft picks as the spring goes on and the summer goes on. But yeah, it was a good draft. I really feel like I sucked again this year at my mock draft. I had four correct out of the
I think
first
this is the
32.
most accurate I've been with 7 picks, right?
Well, I went for the most obvious, and then obviously the rest were just crap.
Yeah,
I
the
actually
first
looked.
four.
My first mock draft was better, and then I just changed it because my gut.
Huh. Interesting.
So what else do we have on task here today?
Not that. Um, let's see.
I guess
I know.
Ezekiel Elliott's back in Dallas.
Yeah, that's the newest or latest running back sign, I guess, to have him coming back to Dallas on much
I don't
cheaper
know. Yeah, I don't.
deal than what he initially wanted.
They're paying him more from his old salary where they cut him than what they're paying him this year, which I just think is hilarious.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's such a cowboy thing, by the way.
Yeah. Chris Harris announced his retirement too, so I guess that's another
Yeah,
NFL story worth mentioning. Uh, NBA
Matt
playoffs.
Ryan as well.
Oh, what about Matt Ryan?
He retired officially.
Oh, officially. Okay. Yeah, NBA playoffs right now. We just spoke very highly of the Cavs the
Oh my
week
goodness!
before.
Once I posted a little late, and once I posted, I was like, "This I regret the fact that we said all this positive things because now they suck." I mean, they're up 3-2 now. So as we're
They're
recording
up three
this,
two. They got to go to Orlando, and they suck on the
stuck
road.
and roll later.
I don't think they won a game on the road last year or this year.
Mm-mm. The question is
Orlando
for
is the
you.
betting favorite tonight.
Question for you is, Josh, if they lose this series, forbidding they lose this, does that mean Bickerstaff is gone and most likely Mitchell's gone? Yes or no?
It wouldn't shock me. I think if you suffer back-to-back first-round exits when you were the
The
better
better seed.
team,
Yeah.
the better seed, and you lose it in the fashion that you do, can't even win on the road, I think that'd be enough for me if I'm Donovan Mitchell to see that there's no future here.
Yeah.
And then if you're the Cavs, you also got to be like, okay, why can't we win on the road? We obliterate teams at home and then we go on the road and we're just totally different. Is that coaching or is that just the young roster that we got not handling the road crowd? I don't know. But
And I don't think people realize, Josh, if they lose Mitchell, this sets the team back not as much as LeBron did, but this would set the team back a few years. Like, I really believe that. I don't know if you take Mitchell out of this team that you have a guy that can go out there and be that it guy for the team.
yeah, Mobley ain't gonna be that guy. Garland ain't gonna be
Garland's
that
not
guy.
no.
Allen ain't gonna be that guy.
Like I really think that you're back to that square one of like Mitchell getting Mitchell here was huge. But if you notice, no one's really coming to join him. Like, right? Again, Cleveland's one of those places where I think guys are very hesitant to want to
It's
come to
very hard.
join.
Yeah,
So I really struggle with seeing that happen. Um, I think Cavs fans are holding their breath that LeBron decides to come to Cleveland again for one last ride. But look, at the end of the day, you just have to win this series. Like, look, I think this year is a very winnable year. If you can get to Boston and win a couple games on the road, I think you're fine. Um, but again, that is just you have to win your series in front of you and then keep going from there.
for sure. And speaking of LeBron, I think this 4-1 series loss to the Nuggets is definitely the end of the LeBron era over in LA. What about
No,
you?
I look, and I know we're going to spend a little bit of time on this because I think we could talk about the same thing about Kevin Durant as well, and we maybe we'll talk about it. But
Yeah,
look, I think Josh, I really believe this probably since that 2020 championship. I felt like we were starting to see slowly the end of an era. Um, I don't know I don't know if we're going to see LeBron in another finals. I really don't think so. I just if you go back to LA, like what are you going to do? And I think someone brought up a great point. It wasn't the fact that the coaching, like they want Ham fired. I don't think it was the coaching. It was the fact that there was not enough depth. If you look at the Nuggets when they went to their bench, first off, the Nuggets are just freaking good.
Yep.
But you go to their bench, they're 12 deep. The Lakers are maybe 7. Right.
That's
To
even pushing
me,
it.
yeah, that's pushing it, right? And
You
I
got a
think
heavy top two with LeBron and AD, and then it's
yes.
like Austin Reeves. You,
Yeah, and look, this is my thing, and I really believe this. It's the end of an era, Josh. I just look, hats off to LeBron James. I mean, he's playing as 40 years old. I mean, he averaged 28, what? It was like 26, 7 and 7, right? At 40
27,
years
7,
old.
7, I think. Yeah.
And look, I don't know about you, but it's really hard for me to imagine LeBron leading another team to a deep run. I can't. That's nothing against LeBron. That's nothing against the player he is and who AD is on the Lakers. But I don't see him going back to the Lakers. And if he is, I don't see the Lakers being a team anymore. Just like I think it's an end of the era for the Warriors. I don't see the Warriors being that team anymore. I think you're seeing the end of that era. You're seeing the end of the Kevin Durant era. Like you're starting to see the end of these eras. And again, maybe I'm just crazy, Josh. Maybe I'm the only one that's thinking this, but look, the Warriors have not looked the same for like 2 years. Really, if you think about it, like they really haven't looked like the Warriors in 2 years. The Kevin Durant, ever since he left the Warriors, has just looked terrible, and that's why a lot of people are saying like maybe he'll go back to the Warriors, maybe he'll go back to the Thunder, who the Thunder looked phenomenal as well. And maybe this is where we see, and this would be really cool. You see LeBron go back to the Cavs, you see Kevin Durant go back to the Thunder, and kind of finish where they started. But I don't know about you, but do you feel like this is the maybe the final the final, as they say, salute to LeBron and maybe KD as well in this era.
Yeah. I mean, you could throw Steph into that
Yeah.
discussion too, honestly, since we're talking the Warriors. Yeah. Kevin Durant cycle. So Suns just got swept. Bradley Beal and Devin Booker and him just weren't good enough, I guess, at the end of the day. We've seen this happen with Kevin Durant before, with Brooklyn. Go to a team because he's unhappy with his past situation. Bring some of his friends over. It doesn't work out. He wants out. Does the same thing over here with Phoenix. Suffers a sweep in the first round. It's like, yep, it's and the Suns have really gone all in these last few years too, going and getting guys like Chris Paul to come and
They
now
don't
with
they don't have a
uh
first round pick until like 2031.
that's what I was just gonna get at is like they really went all in. They don't have a first round pick. This is like when the Nets traded all those first
Yeah.
round picks to Boston
And
and it didn't work out.
there's a rumor that Devin Booker wants to go to New York. Like that's a huge rumor right now. That's like not like just a rumor, but like there is some speed to it. So that's fascinating too.
Yeah. And I am really on that note too of like Phoenix going all in and it not working. Transition over to like how OKC has basically built their team through the draft and is a 1 seed. The
The
Nuggets
way it
have
should be.
basically built their team through the draft and they're the 2 seed. Minnesota pretty much built their team through the draft. They're the 3 seed.
Cleveland. Even the
Cleveland is
Cavs for
another
a
one.
sense.
Yes. I mean, how cool is that that the super team era could be gone because not that these teams can't acquire talent, but it seems like the talent can't get along and just leaves.
Or the
And
money's too much.
how many teams want to risk being in the situation that Phoenix is about to be in? I wouldn't
It's
want to be that. Like you don't even know. Like I'm sure you could get a ring if they would just like figure it out in 4 or 5 years, but it could blow up in 2 years.
yeah, and it's man, I don't know, man. And also we've heard the rumors that LeBron now supposedly doesn't really care about playing with his son, which I don't believe for one instant.
I don't believe that either. No
And
way.
I think, look, I want to ask you this question, Josh. Your percentage that LeBron James decides to go back to Cleveland one more go. One more go. Says, you know what? I'll take a minimum deal. I'll take a minimum deal if I can finish my career with Bronny either alongside or not alongside. Depends on what would happen, but he would like to finish his career in Cleveland.
I'll give it a 25% chance because I think the other 75 is going to be wherever Bronny ends up.
Yeah. I mean, Wouldn't that, but like that, I feel like for Cleveland fans would just be like such an icing on the cake for his career. Coming back and saying, let me finish what I started, even more so than when he came back for a championship. Now, I'm not saying it's going to top it, but you add
Yeah.
LeBron to that core of players already, and he comes back on a minimum deal. He doesn't need the money.
Doesn't need the money at this point, yeah. So it would have to be veteran minimum, and I don't know if he's humble enough to do that either. And I
No,
really do
he's a
think he
greedy
is
dude.
all about playing with his son. And we'll see if his
Yeah.
son's even good enough to get picked in the
And,
NBA.
and do you believe the rhetoric that he's trying to that JJ Redick and his podcast, which by the way is a phenomenal podcast. If you have not listened to it, outside of the politics stuff, like it's phenomenal. Like when they go through basketball, you get to learn so much about the game from those two guys. Do you feel like the podcast itself, this is the rumor, is that he's trying to get JJ Redick and kind of read him to see if he could be the head coach for the Lakers? Because I
I
feel like
don't
LeBron
know.
would do that. I feel like LeBron would do that.
I think JJ with all the stuff he's done at ESPN and with his show and on social media is really building himself up to be one of like the big basketball
Kind of
brains
like a Tony
out in the
Romo.
world right now. Yeah, kind of like that. And I don't know how many people want Tony Romo to be their coach, but uh on JJ Redick though, yeah, I think he could be maybe setting himself up for an opportunity. I don't know if it would be with the Lakers and with LeBron or if it's going to take a few more years, but yeah, I could see it
If
happening
if this is the end of the era,
further down. Yeah.
if this is the end of the era, I think Josh and I both would love to say that it's been a fun. I mean, this was our childhood, Josh. Like for us, this was us growing up with these kind of guys, with especially with LeBron and Kevin Durant. I mean, from pretty much when we were in, elementary school all the way up through high school, those were the guys that we were able to watch. And is it starting to get surreal? I know we've said this before, but like it's almost getting more surreal now. Like I look at the NBA or I look at Major League Baseball, more so the NBA, more so the NFL, where it's like, dude, all the guys I watched growing up are like gone. Like they're not there
Yeah,
anymore.
I think the NBA has been the last league to kind of like have our childhood era go away. We've seen it with like the quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
We've seen it with a handful of guys on the baseball field. And yeah, with basketball, it's like that group of Kevin Durant, LeBron James. You could throw Steph in there, I guess. Um, yeah, it is our childhood. It's interesting to see like I was just naming all those teams off, like OKC, Denver, and Minnesota are the top three seeds. What are we
Which is just
talking about
weird,
here?
dude. Just
Yeah.
weird to think about. And like if you look in the East Coast, you have in the East you have, Cleveland and Orlando, right? That's a playoff series, 4 versus 5.
Yep.
I feel like we're back when LeBron hit the game winner. You remember that way back in what, '07 when he hit the game winner against Orlando from like half
Yep.
court, right? Like that's where I feel like we're back. And I think it's a yeah, it's just it's a phenomenal time of basketball. Again, this is saying that if maybe the Cavs will win, maybe they'll blow the series. If they do that, I'm sorry. But with that being said, do you have a thought right now with the series, like a lot of series midway? Do you have a thought of who you think is going to win it all? Do you have a thought like with it going right now?
It's tough to say because like I haven't been watching the NBA all that much anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have the most insight on all this, but it's just kind of wild to me that like I was just saying OKC and Minnesota are 1 and 3. It's like how like legit are they as a 1 and 3 seed?
Yeah,
Because we've seen like the Atlanta Hawks be a 1 seed in 2014 and get swept by the Cavs.
yeah.
Like how much do these regular season seedings actually mean? Because I believe in Denver a heck of a lot more as the 2 seed.
I agree. Yes,
Out in the East, I really don't think you can count Milwaukee out, even though they're only, I guess, 3. It's hard for me to take the Knicks seriously, but I mean, Jalen Brunson is all that. And they are a 2 seed, but it's it's just a bunch of guys that I'm like, who, what? Like, would you have believed that Josh Hart would be leading the Knicks in rebounds, like based on
no.
like who we've known Josh Hart to be?
I really feel like the Celtics will end up coming out of the East. Like I just have this feeling, and then I feel like it's basically between those 3 teams in the West. It's either going to be Minnesota, Denver, or it's going to be OKC. Now, my gut tells me it's going to be like a Denver Celtics matchup and be the most boring matchup of all time. But it would be cool to see like a Cavaliers versus Minnesota Timberwolves NBA Finals. Like that would just be cool. Like it'd just be kind of a cool thing to witness. You know.
Yeah, I
Oh
think
no, he
so.
died. Um, but yeah, I think that's the fascinating part. And again, that's what makes the NBA so phenomenal. And exciting at the same time. But with the basketball talk, is there any other things that we should talk about on today's show? Anything that baseball wise, world sports wise? I don't know. The Olympics are coming up soon, by the way. They're going to be here in like 3 months or whatever, which we'll have maybe we'll talk about. I don't know.
I'd say probably the biggest story in baseball right now is that Mike Trout is going to need knee surgery.
Again, I feel like he has a surgery every other year.
He is getting a lot of injuries, but yeah, we've mentioned on here how basically every home run he hits is a solo shot because his team sucks, and we hate to see that for him. But now it actually looked like he was bouncing back because last year was like legit a struggle of a season, and now he's back to being hurt again. And Byron
Yeah.
Buxton, also another guy that's been injury prone, left the game today with some issues with his knee. So I guess we'll have to figure out if that's going to be something that could keep him out long term or not. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
much it
even
baseball
The
wise.
Astros were really bad. They've won three in a row, but they were like 7-19 at one point.
Yeah,
Um, the
bullpen's got to get fixed for
the
them.
Reds, I was telling Josh before we started recording. Dela Cruz is the first player in Major League history to have eight plus home runs and 17 plus stolen bases. Say to 17 or more stolen bases in 1 month,
Huh.
which is awesome. And he's on pace for like 120 stolen bases. But let's be honest, he plays for the Reds. It's just not
Yeah,
going to ever be that way. And the Reds are struggling anyways right now, of course. But yeah, that's baseball. The Athletics are not the worst team in baseball right now, actually.
they're not.
Shock.
Still the White Sox.
They're so bad, by the way. So bad.
Six
When I
and
watched that
25.
team, dude, there was a fight actually yesterday. I don't know if you saw the fight.
Really? Nope, I
Yeah,
didn't.
well, sorry. It's a baseball fight, which means they swing, but they don't connect with any of their punches because they all suck at it.
Uh,
One of those, between I believe it was the Brewers and the Rays. At Tropicana Field, full of people. Um, but yeah, baseball is going well, and yeah, there's nothing really else going on in sport. I know this seems like we're not speaking a lot of detail, but Josh and I are both like dying probably inside
yeah,
with our sickness. Like we have no motive. By the way, you could just tell their energy is just it's
I'm
dead.
I'm kind of tapped out, honestly.
We are tapped out because the energy is going. But that's not to say that we won't have a lot to talk about. Obviously, there'll be I think some college football, maybe some news. I don't know if there will be any next week, but we'll have obviously more NBA stuff will be happening next week that we'll talk about baseball stuff happening, maybe NFL moves as well. So please make sure that you tune in for a hopefully a healthier version of the show next week
Yeah,
that we're not dying and dead inside. But we hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure you leave a thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Allow us to know that you're enjoying the podcast. And if you've loved listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you like and give us a comment, rate us, and make sure you send it out to friends and family. And enjoy this great warm weather this weekend. I hope you guys have a chance to get outside and spend time with family and friends. And as always, we'll see you.